Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining me on today's video. My name is Sharon Carpenter, this is the Joyous Orchids channel, and today we've got a really special video for you, so we're just going to get right into it. Today's video is a care collab. A care collab is when a group of orchid growers, who are also on YouTube with their channels, all collaborate and decide to do a care video on the same type of orchid that they're growing. And what that means for you, if you've stumbled across these videos, is that we're going to tell you how we care for these orchids in our environment that's unique to our circumstances. I'm in Melbourne, Australia, but part of this care collab are orchid growers from all over the world. So you are going to get a lot of information on these types of orchids that we hope will help you in your environment. Our hope is that you can take away a comprehensive array of knowledge from growers all over the world and apply them to you and your orchids and setting you up for great success. All the channels that you're looking at on screen right now are participating in this collaboration. So I encourage you to go check them all out. Go get a coffee, grab a spot on the couch, sit up and then click through them all. I'll be putting links in the description to every single one of these videos in this care collab. So with that, let's talk slipper orchids. So these lovely little ladies I have sitting on this tray. This is my collection of Paphiopedilum orchids. Now there are other types of slipper orchids. They get the name slipper orchids because of the shape of the flower. I don't have other types of slipper orchids. So I'm only going to talk about the orchids I have in my collection, and all of them are Paphiopedilums. Furthermore, guys, I haven't been growing these for very long. All of these orchids here, I got within the last year. In fact, I got them all within the last 9 months. I haven't even had them a full year. So when I was asked to participate in this care collab, my first thought was, what on earth are you going to say? You don't know anything about keeping paps. You've managed to keep these alive. Yay me. But I can't give you a whole lot of experience because I don't have an awful lot of experience with these plants. But then I thought, hang on. Every single one of these orchid growers that's part of this collab started somewhere. They sat in my shoes right now, once upon a time. You may very well be considering some of these plants. And it's highly likely that people who are going to be looking at this video are considering whether they really want to take a journey with these plants themselves. So I'm going to talk about these plants from a newbie's point of view. And we're going to repot one together. So let's talk about Paphiopedilums more generally. So I've got a couple of these mottled leaf varieties. The book says that these orchids don't need quite as much light as these orchids. These are multifloral orchids. Their leaves are much slimmer. They don't have the mottled green. And my multifloral orchids have got parentage from the Philippines. The Philippines is a really warm environment. So these guys will appreciate a little bit more warmth, a bit more light than these ones. Now, I keep these in my home. These guys sit on this very table. There is a west-facing window just here, and there is a north-facing window just here. And there's a double set of doors, which are glass. So it sits away from the window, pretty much in between these two light sources. These here are also on this table, but on the other side. They live under a grow light that's on for 12 hours a day, in what I call seedling corner. They are very young plants and they are going to take a while to grow and then bloom. But to me, that's part of the enjoyment, is watching them grow. And when they do bloom, I'll have a very satisfied feeling knowing that I was able to raise these guys to blooming size. And that's kind of exciting. So in terms of temperature, my home ranges anywhere from 18 degrees to about 25 degrees. That's for most of the year. Sometimes it gets a little warmer than that, but not frequently. In the summer, it may get up to 29 or 30 in the house. In terms of humidity, I don't have a humidifier on them. I have them in my home space, my home living space, they seem to be fine. After 9 months, there doesn't seem to be too many problems. Now, the only one I've actually repotted so far is this guy. And he got repotted very quickly. And the reason why he got repotted quickly was because he was quite a way out of his pot. So I pot him up in small bark and perlite. It's fine grade perlite. It's the finest grade I've got. All the rest I haven't repotted because I didn't feel like I really needed to. But we're going to talk about this one in a minute because this is the one that's going to be repotted in today's video. In terms of watering, anyone will tell you to keep them moist, that they don't like to dry out. So the ones that are in bark or bark and perlite, I will generally water every 4 days or so. In the height of summer, I'm watering them every second day. No doubt in winter, over the winter months, I will water them probably once a week. These two very, very young seedlings are in sphagnum moss. So I just double check to make sure that the sphagnum moss is damp, and when it's no longer damp or approaching dry, I will put a few drops of water on them just to keep them moist. This is the Paphiopedilum angel hair. It's a multifloral orchid. So a multifloral Paphiopedilum will have a spike and it will have multiple flowers on that spike. This is the first slipper orchid I ever got in mid-August. Her parents are Paphiopedilum St. Swithin and Paphiopedilum sanderianum. And Paph St. Swithin is a primary hybrid. Its parents are Philippinensis Rothschildianum. So in figuring out what sort of care this one needs, we don't have to look too far because the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, so to speak. The second orchid I'm going to talk about today is this one, which is my biggest multifloral. This one is Paphiopedilum philippinensis crossed with a sibling. I got this one at the same time as I got this one, and I got them in early September last year. Very similar care to the one at the front, because this one of its parents is this one. It's kind of why I got them. He's potted up in bark. The bark is of good quality. It's not breaking down yet, so I don't see any reason to repot that one at this particular point in time. The last multifloral we're going to talk about is this one. This one is Howard Isabel. Its parents are Hung Sheneagle and crossed with a sanderianum. This one is my most recent acquisition, along with this one that I got at the same time, and that was in March this year. So these really have not been with me for very long at all. And once this reaches maturity, after a few years, it is capable of having 4 to 5 flowers per spike. So hopefully we've got some beautiful blooms in the future of this one. This is Paph Black Spider. It's a hybrid of Paph Black Jazz and Hinsing Web. This one I also got in March, and I got her because of her beautiful mottled leaves. This is not a multifloral. It will have a single spike with a single flower on it. But I'll put a picture of the parent flowers on the screen here. So it might give you a little bit of an idea what her flower is going to look like. And the last orchid we're going to talk about is the Venustum. This is a species orchid. It's been with me since August last year, and this is the one we're going to repot. So for a moment, let's talk about the roots of Paphiopedilum. These orchids, for the most part, are terrestrial, semi-terrestrial, or lithiophytes. That means that they hate air. They hate air with a passion. They're brown and fuzzy. The roots of these orchids are also very brittle, so you have to be very careful when you're repotting and handling these roots. And the reason why we're going to repot this one is that I've noticed she's getting some new roots right now, but they're not touching the medium. And I think that this orchid is a little bit too high in the pot. Unlike an epiphyte, it's really important that these roots go down into the medium and aren't exposed to air, or they won't grow. You'll get these little nubbins, but they don't actually grow out. So That's the reason we're going to repot this one today. Oh, water, water. Okay, something I forgot for culture. So I fertilize these guys every third or fourth watering. I also will give them a monthly CalMag soak between spring and autumn. And these two just had a soak today. So these roots should be nice and wet. This orchid should be plump, which will make repotting hopefully a lot easier. So what fertilizer do I use? I use Orchid Focus from Growth Technology. That's the regular base fertilizer I use for all of my orchids. In terms of strength, I will use 100 to 120 parts per million. And in terms of the water, my water source, that's straight tap water. I'm lucky enough to live in a place where I have very, very low total dissolved solids in my water, and my water has calcium in it. And these orchids do like a little bit of extra calcium. To that end, I will also give them a bath once every 3 weeks, once a month, something like that, of 100 parts per million of CalMag and 40 parts per million of seaweed. So that's my fertilizing regime. So with all that out of the way, I think we're ready to start to repot. All right, now we're going to repot our lovely orchid here. So this is the Pathiopedilum. The reason why we are repotting this orchid right now has to do with the fact that it's getting some new roots. In the majority of cases, the best time to repot any orchid is when you are getting new root growth. Now let me step forward around my cords here and show you something. Can you see in here? We've got little root nubbins in here, and they are struggling to poke through. On this side, we also have new roots, which are almost touching the medium. That's almost good. It's not quite good enough. The risk is that these roots, new roots here, will not make it into this media, and that's a concern for me. So we're going to take the opportunity to repot this orchid. We're going to get it out of our old media, and we're going to put her into a new pot here. Now, for her pot, I've got a Lechuza pot. It's the Lechuza Mini. I bought a couple of these, and they've been sitting around not used. And when you spend the money on a Lechuza pot, to have them sitting around not being used, it's a bit of a waste. So it does come with Lechuza Pond. We are not going to use this media. There is far too much fertilizer in one of these for orchids. So we're going to pop that over there, and we'll probably try Lechuza Pond some other time. So these are a self-watering pot. You can take this out, and this is the well. And if you see in here, we have got a wick, a string that goes from the bottom to the top. That wick is very wicking. So it comes through to the bottom on both sides, right here, and that will wick the water up from the bottom of the well. This little indicator is very handy. It will tell us how much water is in the bottom of the well. And for a substrate, and Julie, you should be very proud of me, we are going to transition this orchid from bark to pumice. So we are moving from an organic to an inorganic media. I've never grown an orchid in straight pumice before. I've mixed it in with other orchids, but I've never used just straight pumice. But I really want to try this setup with this particular pot, with this particular orchid. And I think that it should go really, really well. So the first step really is we're going to move away this stuff here, and we're going to unpot our orchid. Keeping in mind, I gave this orchid a water today. So hopefully the roots are nice and plump and full. Give it a little jiggle. And Storm is on his way to give Mummy a bit of a helping hand. There we go. That will be very useful on another plant. Storm, you're going to get in the way. So let's have a look at this plant. So we have got one beautiful healthy root. Look at that. We've got this one, which is also lovely and healthy. And we're looking to be able to grow on these new roots here. Oh, there's another nubbin coming in there. Yes, there's another nubbin. You know what? I'm really tempted to rip these leaves off. Oh, there's another 2 nubbins. Storm, would you get out of the way, please? Oh, there's another nubbin right there that I hadn't seen. There's 2 root nubbins. There's 3. So let's have a look at this. So I'm not sure if you can see this, guys, but we've got, see that? Nubbins there. What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 new roots potentially. You know what? You know what? This leaf is coming off. So we'll take that leaf off in a minute. But these 2 new roots, nice and firm. Very nice and firm. Nice and fuzzy. I like those brown fuzzy roots. Oh, it's about to sprout a new leaf. Oh, I don't feel so guilty ripping this one off. So let's get some fiskars and we'll rip that leaf off. So I have my scissors. I have sterilized these. And unlike Phalaenopsis, there is no juncture here where the leaf will easily be pulled away. If I pull this, it's likely that I'm going to mess up the entire section there. So I'm just going to go snip. Do this so you can see it. Down the center. You can pull that off like that. Down the center. Pull that off like that. Hello, Storm. That's what I want. So we take that part off, go down the center and pull. Storm, if you break that root, I'll break you. And there we go. So now I'm a lot more confident that these nubbins here are going to grow as roots into the media, especially if we sit the plant in to here. That's what we want to do. So now we have our plant, and this plant's going to sit quite well in this pot. So we want him to sit about there. So we're going to rest his, essentially where his leaves are resting right now. We can fill that up with media. So the first thing I'm going to do is get my media, get my well, and I'm going to fill it up. We will take out some of this water later, but what we want to do is make sure that our plant is in the right posi, as in position, that our well, our pot is ready, and we can start placing in our pumice. Just a little bit, just for the bottom. And some of this may float, that's okay. Okay, now we're going to place our orchid. And in doing this way, it means we won't bash the roots. It means that when the pumice and the stones go down to the bottom, it won't crush the roots at all. It will just float down and it will settle around the roots of the orchid. So that is why we do that. Storm really likes to help, can you tell? Bah. It's all right. We always make a mess, don't we? We have fun making a mess. Yes, we do. Make sure that everything is buried that we want it to be buried. Right. And I think we are done. And I'm a lot more satisfied that the roots are going to go into that media and not fail on the way out. All right. So let me clean up this mess and we will get to the outro. Oh, look at you. You're just being a handsome boy, aren't you? Yes. Yes, you are. Well, that's it, guys. Thank you so much for joining me on this. Thank you for joining me. Very special video today. I'm very excited. It's the first care collab that I've been involved in. Please do check out the other channels. I'm sure they're going to be so much more informative and everyone there is going to be full of wisdom galore. I am not that person, sadly, but if you're new to these types of orchids, perhaps you want to subscribe to my channel. I'll be posting updates and we can watch the progress of these orchids together. So thank you, everybody. Don't forget to smash the like button on your way out and have a wonderful rest of your day.